Hello, hello, and welcome to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is your host, Lizzabitty. So, a few housekeeping rules. As you can see, we have a pinned comment here. Today, we have a unique discussion with a gentleman who I have followed, but I'm always silent in the background, lurking. So, what this conversation is about today is about education for those Blacks in the diaspora and making a decision on how they want to proceed with repatriation. Two different people, two different views, but two diasporans from the United States. So I'm going to bring my guest in and allow him to introduce himself, and we will get right in. Let me bring him in.
Speak
Hello,
to the chat.
all right, Captain.
How you doing, sis?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great. Nice to be here.
Thank you. So start by introducing yourself. Tell us just a little bit about you, and then we will jump right into it.
All right. My name is Nakmizi. From Brooklyn, New York, 47 years old, father, educator, husband, and I stand for my people 100%. And that's pretty much it. I'm B1 for life.
Understood. Myself as well. So, I contacted you and I said, okay, because there's a lot of ruckus going on out here in these streets now. And so you and I have two different ideologies about repatriation for Blacks in the diaspora. Can you briefly give a synopsis about your feelings, what you believe, and all of that?
Okay, brief synopsis is that I don't try to stop anyone from repatriating to Africa or going to Africa. And we'll get into why I make the distinction. But I say that if you're going to go, prepare yourself culturally, financially, and on every single level, even spiritually, because there is going to be such a huge culture clash when you go if you're not mentally prepared. And a lot of people that go, they end up coming back because it was too much. So I'm saying if you're going to do it, just do it right.
Well, tell me some of the reasons that people are saying that they're actually returning back after they have actually arrived.
Some of it's financial. People would have this fantasy of Africa that it's so cheap. But what they're not factoring in is that you're going to have to accept a lower standard of living from what you're used to in America or wherever you are in the diaspora. So, you're going to have to deal with infrastructure issues, customer service issues, educational issues, mental colonization issues. And a lot of people go to Africa thinking, yeah, I'm home. And then when you get there, you realize that there's a huge difference and a huge gap between us and them, unfortunately.
Well, you made a note saying that spiritually, okay, but tell me about this lower standard of living. Tell me about
when I say
this.
lower standard in terms of amenities, okay? So you're making an exchange. Like right now, my internet works every day, all day. My light works. I can take a hot shower anytime that I want. Now, I can do this not being a millionaire or just being a hardworking man and being able to support myself and my family. If I go to a lot of these countries in Africa, you're going to have to really look well if you're going to try to have the same standard of living. And I'm talking about your house, I'm talking about security, I'm talking about education, I'm talking about logistical things like transport and things of that nature.
Okay. A few points of contention here.
Yes, ma'am.
So, first, before I get into my spiel, tell me how many African nations have you actually visited? Okay, one. And this particular country is?
Ghana.
Okay. So myself, I call myself the travel czar.
All right, let's get it.
Okay. 6 continents. Antarctica's left. 20 nations on Alkebulan. Now, I'm not going to disagree with you that the nations lack infrastructure. Everybody here knows that the most developed nation on Alkebulan is South Africa. Then you can proceed and say Botswana. You can say Namibia. Move over to Egypt, Morocco. But here's what I want you to understand as a person that has visited and actually lived on the continent. Historically, okay, let's only take 400 years of chattel slavery, even though our ancestry predates 300,000 years. And this is according to Dr. Anthony T. Browder. I've read most of his books. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with him. So only within this subset of a period of time, even though it seems minuscule to a point, a lot happened. All of the nations in the West, including where you reside now, benefited off of free labor. There is no way to build infrastructure without labor. As you know, I'm sure you've done home improvements. You made small construction projects yourself. Labor is what costs. The materials are cheap. So my thought process is this. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying you're right. We're going to have a meeting of the minds within the middle here. But what I'm saying is, in order for these African nations to actually promulgate and move towards, let's say, what we expect in the West, we as diasporans have got to be sensible and say to ourselves, there is no way, if most of the nations only received independence from 40 to 60 years ago, can they find themselves at a level like the United States, the United Kingdom, Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, all of which who have pilfered from Mother Alkebulan. So I feel like the people that go and they come with a false sense, they are not being realistic in their adaptations here. A lot of things start here before you can even begin to expand elsewhere. So that's my contention. Your go.
No, I appreciate what you're saying, and you're 100% right. But we have to get into why these European nations have pillaged Africa. And I'll make a statement here. I think that white supremacy is a direct result of a lack of African innovation. And this innovation I'm going to start with is military. Then we're going to go to agricultural. There was no industrial revolution in Africa. So Africa, in terms of being a competitor, has never been a competitor on a world stage. Why? Because we lacked military innovation. Once you can't protect and control your assets, anyone can just come in and take them. That's how the Dutch VOC was allowed to go, Dutch settlers, go into South Africa. And then you had another set of white people, the English, go to South Africa. And you have two Europeans fighting over African resources, while the native African was being locked up in internment camps. I mean, if that doesn't tell me that, you know, Africa has been behind the ball in terms of protecting their resources, developing their resources, and also refining their resources. The money is not in the banana. The money is in the banana shake. So you have to be able to develop and refine your resources for you to make money. And until Africa does that and has that industrial revolution, that military revolution, that medicinal and agricultural revolution and innovation, they are always going to be behind the 8 ball. So now, if you're going to go to Africa, you have to keep this in mind. You have to keep this in mind. And we say Africa. I like Alkebulan, okay? If we talk about Alkebulan, we have to say and look at it realistically. We have to talk about specific countries, because in Africa, there are, off the top of my head, 54 countries, if I'm going to include the newest one. I believe Eswatini is the 55th, but I'm not really sure. Yeah? Okay, so we got 55 nations down there, and 3,000 tribes, 200 different dialects, 1.2 billion people, the youngest population on a planet.
On the planet.
They don't talk to each other. And I don't think they'll ever talk to each other. And if they don't either speak to each other and get on code, or start getting with their industrial revolution and military revolution, then they are always going to be in last place.
So I do agree with you, because on this particular point in regards to the military, because as you know, all of the new technology and infrastructure that you see in the U.S. is all gone behind the U.S. military.
Yep.
So everything that they put into, they begin to hire companies to foster that technology, and then here we are. Okay, got that. Understand so there's blame on both sides in this part about what you're speaking in regards to the military. Blame in this. Some of the leaders that we've had have not been for their people. They have allowed themselves to become puppets of the West. Make no mistake, even where you live and where I am from, because I'm not there now, but make no mistake that these people are consistently, excuse me, in the background, making moves to eventually pull the chains of all of these countries on Alkebulan. This is a mere fact. So you can look at that in terms of Gaddafi, Mugabe, any black man, Patrice Lumumba, any black man that is for his people is going to be challenged with death by the West. Why? Because history has shown us that when the melanin nation gets together, we are become seamless. We coagulate like blood. We're creative. We're brilliant. We're innovative. All of these things. So so if I was a player outside of that box, then I have to cause division, indecisiveness, all of that. This is what has happened on the continent. So even with corruption, there is no utopia except death. None. None. So people say, well, oh, it is so corrupt there. What you think you getting when you in America? Blacks are still under Jim Crow, and we in 2020. We're just calling it something else. It's the same thing. The game is the same, but we have changed the name. So all of the Western powers in the background are making these shrewd deals that you and I don't see, but we're smart enough to know what's going on. We're smart enough to know. And so they're using this to make plays on the continent. It's just like I had T. West here the other day, and he was talking about China's move onto the continent. There's ways you have to deal with them. The problem is, even the ones who decide that they want to be for their people, a lot of them do not know, these leaders do not know how to deal with the West like you and I. Why? Because you and I have been indoctrinated into a system of corruption, bamboozling people, treachery, debauchery, trickery, everything, being demagogues. All of these things were taught to us as children in these fake school books. So again, I say to you, all of the issues and things that you have articulated, the West is still causing these people to be puppets. But I feel like blacks in the diaspora, since we have this knowledge, we can forge these relationships to, yes, get on code. What do I mean get on code? Our loyalty as black melanated people on planet Earth, when you look in the mirror, that is where your loyalty lies. You should want a black husband, a black wife, black babies. This is how you protect your genealogy, your lineage line. You cannot do this by mixing. So when you look in the mirror and you say that you are for the person that looks like you, everything else becomes secondary. But again, the problem is some of these people are puppets of the West. And I think that we offer a skill set that people within the continent, they don't have because they haven't lived like you and I. You go.
Okay, so there's so much to unpack there. Number one, let's talk about Gaddafi. I don't understand why we, as black people, constantly praise these hook-nosed Arabs especially Gaddafi, who was only a Pan-Africanist after Pan-Arabism failed. So I don't really care anything about Gaddafi, what he did, because if you look at what was going on in, where was Joseph Kony? It was South Sudan. It was actually West Sudan, the Darfur region. Those fighters there were trained by Gaddafi, by people that were loyal to Gaddafi. So they had North Sudanese, what I call Arabized Africans, fighting against Nilotics and Bantu Africans, slaughtering them. So when we look at these Arabs who historically have been more racist to our people than white people, okay, I say, give me all the other Pan-Africans, but leave the Arabs out of that. Just like we have to practice selfie procreation.
Yeah, okay.
To increase ourselves, okay, power in numbers, we have to also say we have to stand on our own square. So I don't do non-black allies,
okay,
no Arabs, no whites, no well-meaning Chinese. They can keep on their side because they can always switch side. Like I said, Pan-Arabism before he was a Pan-African. Now we'll get more into some of the stuff you said.
Okay.
Western powers. Let's talk about the power of what I just said. If you have no military, then you have no power. You can have all the resources in the world. You can have all the money that you want. You can walk around wherever you are with a suitcase full of money, and I can take it off you with a knife that I bought from the 99-cent store. If you don't have the ability to protect your resources, protect your borders, protect your people, then you're going to always be the whipping boy of the world. So a lot of us tend to scapegoat and say, well, it's the West, it's the West, it's the West. Then when we say, well, you have to have somebody on the continent to talk to. There has to be that person who can speak to the local people, who is that buffer person. And these are the corrupt leaders. But what is it about Black people, about Africans and specifically, that their leadership is so corrupt and so heavy-handed when it comes to dealing with their people? Why wasn't there an Arab Spring? Why wasn't there an Arab Spring in Africa? You understand what I'm saying? Because Africans are so tired of war and getting, pooped on by people that look like them, that are in the pockets of Europeans and Chinese for what you just did. If I can control you financially, I got you. When I was in Ghana, my only country, but trust me, if you listen to me, I could freestyle this information about Africa. I didn't have to go there to learn this. When you keep a people poor, then you can control them. Pan-Africanism will always take a back seat to an empty stomach. Pan-Africanism will always take a back seat to poor infrastructure, disease, violence. So that Pan-African thing ain't working because they need to start taking care of their people at a basic level, which is just basic human needs, food, clothing, and shelter. So when we go above that and we talk about, the military and the political issues, look, Thomas Sankara is, when I mention his name, I have to salute. Okay, he was betrayed by his home, by someone that him and his family considered a brother. And soon as he was taken off of here and sent back to the ancestors, what did the president, I forget what his name is off the top of my head, but he reversed all the policies that Thomas Sankara did and jumped right back into the lap of the colonial French powers. Now, let's look at the Gambia. Adama Barrow, I believe, is the current president, but before that, it was, I believe he was a Muslim.
Jammeh, I believe it's his name.
Yeah, Jammeh.
Mm-hmm.
Yahya Jammeh. Yahya Jammeh, who was very hard on his people. Again, Black people pooping on other Black people. He stepped out of the Commonwealth. When this new president came in, he rejoined the Commonwealth. Why? Because he was getting a payout. He was talking about putting them back on the world stage in terms of joining the global economy. But when you do that, they control you. Prince Charles did a 3-country visit, I believe last year. He went to the Gambia, he went to Ghana, and he went to Nigeria to make sure, hey, we're about to leave the European Union, but we good, right? So until these Africans rise up and take care of their leaders that are not doing for them, the cycle is going to repeat itself.
I don't have a contention about that because, as you know, what's happening in Nigeria is the youth that's doing this now because they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. I recognize every revolution has casualties. Anybody that doesn't understand that doesn't understand the dynamics of history.
Right.
So I get what you're saying with that. And your point is, okay, well, people who are in with the West, and then the ones who are out, they're still not doing for their people. Okay, so again, I understand. But that short time that these countries have had independence, let me go back. Let's just take how we matriculated in the US. With the folks coming from Britain, they wanted to basically leave under the thumb of the queen of the United Kingdom. And of course, that started a rebellion.
Yes.
So in order to build herself up, they come over, they call themselves exploring. I mean, I don't know how you find anything that's already here. I mean, like I said, our history dates back 300,000 years. But again, even when people are moving on to the continent and thinking about that and how we had to develop from that, it takes time. Even with all of that, we had corruption, and look at all the famine and disease that happened to us that was going on then. So I hear what you're saying, but what I don't see any deviation from the lane, meaning they're parallel to me. Because this was new, it had to grow up, form, etc. This is new, it has got to basically regenerate itself to a point from the time of colonial rule. That's the point I'm going from. And I want everyone to recognize that, even though the infrastructure is not what we are accustomed to. I've always said, and you can look in some of my archive videos now, that people have to be realistic, plan, and military, you make a contingency plan. So when 1 and 2 fail, you got that third one. There you go. So, but people have to be realistic in here. And this ain't for everybody. This is not for everybody. Part of my story, Knock, is that I lived there over 20 years ago. I was much younger. But mentally, there were some things happening to me that I couldn't sustain myself, if you will. If I was that person now, it wouldn't even bother me. So my youth enabled me to a point that I could not continue on, because if I had stayed on, I wouldn't even be where I am today. My life would be totally different. And I understood that Malawi was not Dallas. Malawi was not Minneapolis. Malawi was not Detroit. And I lived in Detroit for 5 years. Some of the things that went on in Detroit reminds me of things that are happening on the continent. So for me, I don't really take it as, well, okay, these people need to do better, because I live in Detroit. I know what they were doing to Detroit and how they basically emaciated the freaking economy. Put up all these casinos and people losing their houses left and right so they can line their pockets. You know, so my experience is a little bit different. Now, of course, I've seen your videos. Again, I've always watched you from afar. I've always watched, so I've seen your videos of your time, you know, when you were there and you were working, etc., and you were training guys. I saw that. But my experience, especially being on so many of the different countries, yes, I've seen that. But I don't dwell on that, because I've seen some of the same stuff in the United States. See, I don't like people that try to paint this facade that, you know, if you want this, you can't have it here. You better go back to America. Well, people can have everything in America if they go to South Africa, Botswana, and Namibia. They can have all that. They can have it. It is there in bountiful. So they can have that. But if they don't want developing nations, then they're shrinking down the choices. But they can have all of that. They can. So people can't say, well, you can't have it here, you can't have it here. I mean, I have my reasons for not wanting to be in South Africa. I have my reasons. I've been there numerous times. I have friends there. But at the same time, I'm not looking for the American equal, the American utopia. I've lived in many, many places abroad. And so that's not what I mean, I've lived in tents, I've lived in containers, you name it. So that's my contention, is that we really have to think about our choices in that, yes, they can be on the continent. They can have all of the luxury and lush they want. Run on down to Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa, all of which I've visited. They can have that. But the problem is they don't want to pay the cost of that, because South Africa is not cheap. So you can't say that this looks like this, but you do have other options. Go there. You can go to Namibia. It's not as populous as some of the as South Africa, but you can have that standard that you are claiming that you seek. But don't denigrate the others because they're coming up. That's all I'm saying.
All right. So a lot of Pan-Africanists, and I'm not a Pan-Africanist, they always go to well, we just got our independence. We just got our independence. We're only 60 years old. Well, Singapore is also 60 years old. Okay. So what about the African has them constantly behind the 8 ball in terms of development, in terms of competition on the world stage? They are not competition. Did you live in Malawi?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of the ACC in Malawi?
Yes.
Well, what's the ACC?
We're not getting into that.
Oh, we gonna get into it now. You brought me on here. You thought you was bringing a lightweight on here?
Just give your spiel. Just give your
okay,
spiel.
I'll just tell you. See,
to your contention.
All right. No, but it's not a big thing. But look,
it's not. But
the ACC got black Malawians doing kung fu, speaking Chinese, learning Chinese culture in Africa. So when the Pan-African always says, well, we have all these problems in America, so why are you comparing America to Africa? Understand this. We were brought to America under duress. And under that duress, we still created Black Wall Street. Under that duress, we still have some of the most brilliant Black minds to ever walk this planet. Black Americans, we are the most resilient, the most resourceful, the most rebellious, and the most revolutionary Black people to walk this planet. Now, why can't they repeat that in Africa? When everyone says, yeah, well, you're in America, well, check this out. We're in America and we're doing well despite the white man, not because of the white man, because they have no love for us. Okay? And now here's a clincher. We are a minority in America doing our thing. The African is a majority numerical in their country, and they still got the thumb of Europeans pressing down on their necks. You know why? Because the warrior spirit left Africa with the slaves that were shipped to the diaspora, and I tell you, today's African is softer than baby shit.
Okay.
I'll give it back to you.
Okay, but again, remember, we date back 300,000 years. That's only a small portion of who we are. Mm-hmm. And if truth be told, if Cleopatra never lost the war, you and I probably wouldn't be having this conversation today. You'd be with your family on Alkebulan somewhere, and I probably would be too. Because it is just how history evolves. She lost, and then here we are. Because they would have moved forward in terms of, I'll use the word conquering other parts of the continent, but they would have still been indigenous Alkebulanans. I get what you're saying. I get it. even with the Chinese, as I said, I had T West here. We were talking about the Chinese having military bases, but the U.S. has military bases there. I mean, I agree that if you bring in military, I mean, that's how they basically took over, was with the Gatling gun. We know this. We know this. You cannot use spears to fight a gun. It doesn't work.
Right.
So I got all that. I do. I guess I just love her so much. I mean, I just love
Cleopatra?
So no, Alkebulan.
Okay. Now, does she love you? Does she love you?
So I can't. It's kind of like even with a normal relationship with anybody. I can't negate what a few people think about me versus me being true to my ancestry. Let me say that. I'm not telling you that I have lived there and visited all these countries and it was a utopia. That is not my contention at all. I'd be lying to the people. But that doesn't stop my love for her. But what it does stop, I would rather be a person that can be amongst her own and not have all of some pleasures that I particularly enjoy. There's certain things I'm not willing to compromise, but none thus far that would stop me from going on the continent. Okay. Then to continue to be in the West, Knock, and I'm not a parent. However, I have cousins. I have a father. You know, I have family and friends that I see is continuously under the oppressor's thumb. They controlled us by this fake religion that these folks continue to practice. And then you tell them something, they want to get an attitude. When everything was stolen out of ancient Kemet. We know it out of Timbuktu. So please, you all just stop with the shenanigans. The problem is, even with Black diasporans, some of us do not want to recognize the truth about who we really are. Some of that can be stagnant as well, because when they come to the continent, they under these other auspices, crap that has been implanted in them since they were children. And so we have to stop. We have to stop and think. You know, it's funny. All this election foolishness is going on, and people tell you all the time not to pick your poison. They say pick your poison. Well, I don't want the poison. I don't want it. I don't want none of it. If I have to choose between the devil and the devil, I'm going to choose me. I choose me at all costs. So whatever that is, that's what it is. But most of us don't think like that. Those are the people who are not aware. We have Alkebulanans on the continent who are not as aware as you and I. I understand everything that you're saying. You have valid points. You do. You do. But some of the countries, as you know, had some dictators who just were not good to their people because they were about themselves. It all goes back again to, as you said, being on code. It all goes back to that. And if I don't look in the mirror and say I am for the person that looks like me, I'll continue to do, excuse my French, fuck shit all day, all night. It's just what it is.
So let me ask you a question. You say you love Alkebulan, right?
I do.
Has Alkebulan showed you love?
She has.
Like what?
She has. As I said, so my time in Malawi, I lost the love of my life there. As I said to you, my life probably would have been different if I was mentally capable of handling some things that I just could not take at that time in my younger years.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I am, how do you say that? Condolences. All right.
No, not that way.
Okay.
Meaning that we never continue to forge on.
Oh, in Malawi.
Yes, because I left.
Okay, so before I get into the reason why you left, I'll put that one right back here. You love Alkebulan. And when you say you, you are me. We are us. Okay?
Okay.
When has Alkebulan showed us that they love us like we love Alkebulan?
When you say us,
Black Americans.
Right. No, I got you. I got you, because you don't want me to speak singularly. I can't even say it. But I can only speak from my experiences. Okay.
Okay.
Every place I've ever gone to, I've always been welcomed with open arms. I have never, like some of the stuff that these people are saying, I've never experienced that personally. I mean, I was on my job and we went to Angola, and the people treated me like I was family. I mean, I was getting invited to people's homes that, stateside, we don't really do things like that, just because, it can be haphazard for us. So I don't really have an experience like some of the contentions that people are saying. That's not my testimony.
So I see where you're going, sis. I want to broaden it because I don't want you to misunderstand me.
Okay.
The Black diaspora has been showing love to Africa for the longest. Okay. You can talk about Martin Delaney, the original Pan-Africanist who was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who's ACBN, African Center Biological Nationalist, who said, I am concerned about the Negro that is not corrupted by white blood. Okay. You could take Marcus Garvey, the Jamaican who went to America to get with the Pan-Africanist that's been pushing this Pan-Africanist ideology. But I would like for you to show me where in Africa have they pushed this idea of Pan-Africanism that included us and showed us the love that we have, not even love, just say interest. The continent has not given a shit about us in the diaspora. They have not. And I challenge any Pan-Africanist to give me the African leader or the group of African people that have really shown us the love that we've shown them. And everyone's going to say, well, yeah, the guy from Ethiopia, Haile Selassie, who had Shashamani for the Rastas.
Yes.
Okay, that's East Africa. You and I do not come from East Africa. We are West and Central Africans. If you're more on the Central, then you come from Bantu blood. Okay, so now because the Pan-African always like to talk about Africa as it's one. It's not one. They can't even speak to each other unless they use colonial languages. So let's just put that out the way. Africa is not one. It's a continent, like they always try to tell you when it's negative. But when it's positive, they want to talk about their country, their ethnic group, and their geographic location. So I don't let the Pan-Africanists play both sides of the fence. So since we both are from Black Americans, or do you have a blue passport?
Yes,
you got an American passport, right? Okay. So basically off of that, I'm not going to try to define you. You define yourself how you are. But we as two Black people who have blue passports from America, our journey started on West Africa. Then we went to America. Well, the Pan-Africans goes way back there, back to, the creation of the out of Africa theory. Let's keep it a little more recent. West Africa. When has West Africa showed us love? They haven't. So we are loving a mama who don't love us back.
Okay.
And I want a leader. I want a movement out of West Africa that has showed us the love that we as Black Americans have been showing Africa. And now I acquiesce to you, sister.
Okay. So it seems to me what you're looking for is, I say, a tangible in that form.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So outside of Ethiopia and Ghana, in terms of opening it up and saying, please come home, and the people come home. In that regards, I can't say I know of any. However, the caveat to that is this. You have many diasporans that have went into the former ravaged Rwanda. Look at them now. They are doing well. So even though the president didn't officially say, I got this for you, he's still saying to come in because things are easy for you to get up and running there. So I guess for me, it's kind of like I hate to quote this because of what you said, but okay, so I think about it this way. What can I give her? Not necessarily her to give me. I get what you're saying. You're saying because of this atrocity, even though, remember, 300 years of civilization, we're talking about this much bandwidth. That's really not a lot of time, but it is. I get it. That's from whence we come. That's how we actually got to this foreign land that we call the United Snakes of America. Got it. So no, I don't see myself personally anything that they have tangibly given outside of those two countries. Got it.
Okay, so you have no tangibles. Africa has not shown Black Americans love in terms of trying to bring us their
tangibles.
Or invest in the Black community in America. They have not. These are tangibles. I don't care about an invitation. You're inviting people back to Ghana to fleece them out of the money that they made in America, grinding, dealing with institutionalized racism. And then you invite them back, you quadruple charge them. It's called the Obroni price. You call us Obroni to our face. Nigeria calling us Akata. If you go to the east, we are Barya. They calling us slaves. They make fun of us, okay? So Africa has not shown any love. And I ask any Pan-African, bring me the heavyweights. Get me Umar Johnson on here. Not that you a lightweight, sis. I appreciate you. But well, Africa has not shown us love in terms of tangible.
Put titles on myself. Now, whatever that fits into, I let everybody. I don't call myself a Pan-African.
I got you.
I call myself is loving my Black people. Now, whatever that needs to be, then that's what it is.
Now,
I don't say that.
Right, I got you. So the Alkebulan has not shown us love. They haven't reached out to us. Even the year of return. This is how it should have started. There should have been a year of reconnection, a year of reconciliation, a year of re-education of their own people on their role in the slave trade and how we left in the first place. So that when the brothers and sisters went back, they weren't seen as walking wallets as I was until I made connections with fighters. I'm actually a trainer. So at that point, I met my brothers, but we are brothers in arms because there's a fighter-trainer relationship there. It's different, okay? So, like I said, Mama Africa, Alkebulan, it's on her to reach out to the children, not the children to reach out to her, especially when she's been selling her children. Selling her children in terms of, in terms of trinkets, you know, little stuff that they didn't flip to turn into anything. They chose the strongest, the smartest, the fastest to rebuild or to build their colonial cities and countries, which was us. There was no rescue party for us at all. So I hold them accountable for that. So when we talk this love, 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 it's a one-way relationship. If you're walking down the street and you see the same neighbor every day and you're saying hi first, and the third day you don't say anything, she don't say anything either, that tells me that's a lopsided relationship. And that's what this is. It's a lopsided relationship. And we go with this emotional connection because it's natural to want to know where you come from originally, right? Hold on, sis. Hold on. I'm on a roll right here. I'm gonna let you rock.
Okay.
It's your show. It's your show. So they haven't shown us that same love. As a matter of fact, a lot of times we get ridiculed. But I'm gonna show you some tangibles that we've shown to Africa. All right. Have you ever heard of USA for Africa?
Listen.
No.
Of course I have.
No, I'm not done. Okay, so you have. So you know what? I'm going to put respect on your scholarship. I'm not going to ask you rhetorical questions.
No. I was saying that to say I know where you are going, but go ahead.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
For the audience. Go ahead.
Stevie Wonder could have seen that. You know what I'm saying? Ray Charles could see that.
Of course.
And you see that reference I made? That's a reference that Black Americans can make to each other. You go to the continent, you don't have that connection, sister. So now, I'm going to go like this. USA for Africa, right? It was, the song was produced by Quincy Jones, and there was actually USA for Africa Foundation that put 100 million at Race for Africa in 35 years, 500 African organizations in 21 countries. The board of directors, Quincy Jones, Lionel Richie, Marlon Jackson, Randall Robinson, all Black Americans doing stuff for Africa. Now let's talk about Randall Robinson for a minute, who started the Trans-Africa Foundation. He was involved with going against apartheid in the Republic of South Africa. Mm-hmm. He worked on behalf of Haitian immigrants and Jean-Claude Aristide in Haiti. He's worked on the Free South Africa movement, worked with Congressional Black Caucus, formulating the Comprehensive Anti-Apartheid Act of 1986. Focus is on social, economic, and politics in Africa, Caribbean, and Latin America. It's the largest and oldest social justice organization that focuses on Africa in the USA. There is not one single organization on that continent that has done a quarter, an iota of what we have done as Black Americans for that continent. So I say, I'm pulling back, and I'm actually boycotting the continent until they start showing me some tangibles, start showing me some love, or at least stop with the disrespect. So now I acquiesce to my sister.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is ask you a series of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Knock, you seem hurt. You really seem hurt.
I'm not hurt.
So doesn't the West do the same thing that you're contending that Alkebulan is doing to the Black diasporans? Yes.
Now
or no?
let me. No, wait.
I need
no.
I don't want you to explain. I need to.
I'm gonna start measy-splaining. I need to because I don't.
Measy-splaining.
I'm gonna start measy-splaining.
Okay.
Re-ask the question for me, sis.
I said, Knock, you seem hurt.
Right. No, I'm not hurt. So that's the answer for the first one. No, I'm not hurt. I'm pissed off. Go on.
Okay. Doesn't the place where you currently reside treat you the same way that you're contending that Alkebulan is doing?
Absolutely. And here's the difference. So there's your yes. Okay. There's your yes. Absolutely. Now here's the difference. I expect to be treated that way by these pale devils. I don't expect to be treated that way by people I have always looked to as fam. So I don't call Africans brothers and sisters no more. I call them long lost cousins. For you to become my brother or my sister, you have to treat me like a brother or a sister. I'm holding them accountable. That's what I'm doing. So that's the answer to your question. Measy explain.
Okay, so you're going to hold them accountable for that.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you rather to be around people every day that look like you, your wife, and your children, than to be around people who don't and who are also oppressing you in that way?
Absolutely.
Yes or no?
Absolutely. Yes. Wow. I would much rather be around people that look like me. And guess what? I am. It's called the diaspora. There's 45 million Black Americans, and I love every single one of them with their faults. The Pookies, the Ray Rays, the Laquishas, I love them because they're my people. We have a similar set of, well, not even similar, the same set of circumstances that creates that bond, that creates that connection. Where if I tell you like this, fish don't burn in the kitchen, what do you say? Come on now. Give it up.
Greens don't burn on the grill. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's my point. You and I share a culture. We don't share a culture with Africans. And if you do have a cultural similarity or a connection, I'd like for you to explain that connection in Malawian for me right now. Not in English. Explain it to me in Malawian since you lived there so long.
that's been umpteen years ago. I don't speak to
Oh,
Chewa anymore. I cannot.
of course, because you're not Malawian, but you can speak Black American English, so to speak. That's my point. We
Ebonics.
talking about not Ebonics. That's racism. We talk about we, and in Africa they're not we. They are Ashanti, Fanti, Ga, Ewe. Edo State, they are Hausa, Fulani, this and that. They have different ethnic groups, but because we are an amalgamation of many different ethnic groups,
We are.
yes, we can't say that we are one of them. We are comprised of all of them in West and Central Africa. And because they don't even look at someone from another ethnic group, which we have in us, as their people, which is how we got here in the first place, we can't just say, flat blackness and say, yeah, we're the same, because they tell you you're not me and I'm not you. They'll tell you, unless they want this. Now go on.
Okay, so stop there. Wouldn't you agree that a lot of that, because what you're talking about is hatred, disdain, that a lot of that has been fostered and nurtured because we don't really understand each other, as well as the West playing a role in propaganda via television? Like
Nope.
I had said to you before, I said to you, when we were in school books told a story as well as commercials, and they had that old no good ass Sally Struthers or whatever her name was, talking about feed the children.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody over there is suffering from a drought and all the children's stomachs are distended. So of course, my first time there, I see this as a lie. What I got being a young person, now I'm just gonna have a little narrative here. Stepping onto the continent for the very first time. Yes, I had traveled before, but I had never been on the continent. What I got was a rude awakening. Even though books allowed me to traverse in my mind different things, it's nothing like bringing a reality to things that you read. So all of the stuff that I had seen on television as a kid, I became disillusioned very, very fast. I saw the ills and hypocrisy of the West. It really caused me to be in a state of depression. That's just real talk. I'm being honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you say what you're saying here, being a Westerner from a Western society, I'm looking at them sideways. Like, why did you teach this to me? Because my parents weren't savvy enough to tell me the truth versus somebody else like a Lance Scurv. So, yes, that depressed me. It really, really did. Because like everything I ever knew was a lie. Everything I ever knew was a lie. So fast forward to now. I don't have that same disillusion anymore. I'm more aware about things. I understand. It just seems to me, because they're not offering something that you can't really take them serious. And for me, the West is offering the killing of my fine Black men that I love. Sons, Black women. I'm a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't, at times in my youth, I've made some silly mistakes. I could have been somebody who has gotten gunned down by the cops. In modern day, the US of A, that we seem like we hailing as the omnipotent society. America is never going to recover. She has already fallen. There's no recovery. We as Black diasporans should be the brain drain that they used against some of these other countries on Alkebulan. The talent pool should go there. We can assist with our brothers and sisters. I know you don't call them that. That's what I'm calling them.
Mm-hmm.
To forge better relationships through talking, discussions, learning about each other. Because what you fail to say, not is that a lot of the ones, imagine a small village out in the bush, let's say in northern Ghana, okay? Way past Tamale. They don't know about you and I. They have no clue about you and I and what we suffered. None. Nix, nine. Zilch. So to me, it's wrong for me to hold a person accountable for ignorance. Now, I get what you're saying, but you got these leaders, Elizabeth. You got these leaders. They should, again, I recognize puppets being played here. People are greedy. People want money. You can keep and suppress a society by keeping them ignorant, and you can keep lining your pockets. The minute a society becomes educated, they begin to question your leadership. This is what happens. So I'm saying it's not fair to hold these others accountable for knowledge they don't know. It's not right. So I can't wholeheartedly, I mean, I can't take what you're saying about them bringing the tangent, because everyone is not complicit. They're not, because some of them didn't know. They didn't.
Okay, now, how can I know that the Ashanti in Ghana were the biggest players in the transatlantic slave trade in that country and they not know it? The Ashanti, hold on. I'm littering.
Meaning you can read. Nah.
Oh yeah, but see, the African doesn't have to read, because the African historically has stories that are passed down to each other, right? So in northern Ghana, by the border of Burkina Faso, and I love that name, Land of Upright People, not Upper Volta. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You have the Yafara Fara. Okay, so they call them Fra Fra, but they're really Yafara Fara. So these people were also taken by the Ashanti, brought down to Kumasi area, walked down to Salaga via Picoro slave camp. They know. The stories are passed down of their people that were taken away. And some Ashantis got caught slipping too. So it became a eat or get eaten. But the thing with the Ashantis is that they were in the pockets of who? The Portuguese, and then the Dutch, and then the English. Right. So these are the same people that we want to be going over there. Hey, Aquaba, let me wear that kente cloth. Who they also wrap around anyone who comes with that money. So that kente cloth to me means nothing, because it doesn't mean anything to them. Because if you come with a little bit of money, they'll wrap you up with it, even if you're whiter than a gallon of milk, like they did to the guy from he's got some show on TV. He went there for the year of the return. He told them, he's like, oh, I'm not worthy of this. They were like, yes, you are. Wrap him up anyway. He's making fun of the Queen Mother right there. And his name will come to me in a second. He's got red hair. He's very popular on the night show, or like the Tonight Show or something like that. Okay. You go to Mepe. One of my videos speaks about Mepe. They have a Dutch guy named Hank, whatever his name is, installed as a king of development. What is that? It's the Obronis that's gonna give them the money. So they've been selling their culture for peanuts. So why would I value their culture more than they do? If they wrap up anyone in their garb, they let anyone in, they do these celebrations for them, hoist them up. You got Chinese, you got white people, you got everyone that's installed as a king, not a king, but as a chief. So they're not valuing African spirituality. They're not valuing their own customs, but they will value that cracker Jesus though. They will value that racist slave-holding Arab Muhammad. They will value that though. I saw more white Jesus in Accra than I ever saw in the United States. I saw more American flags in Accra than I ever saw in Brooklyn, New York. I saw more Israeli flags than I saw on Long Island, New York. So these are the people that we're talking about. Hey, well, I'm back home. And they're like, yeah, well, when were you born? You born on a Friday? Oh, your name Kweku. Oh, you born on a Thursday? Your name Kwasi. Oh, none of this, none of that. Pay me. They're not going to make money on me twice. Slave castles. We got to pay the Abroni price. They're calling us Abronis in our face. I'm holding them accountable. So when we say that they didn't know, that's not the truth, sister, because they do know. Because their ancestors did it. Some of them apologize for it. But your apology is only words if you don't put the connection and the reconnection and the return into action from a place of here. The year of the return should have started like this. It should have started from the Ghanaian government putting respect on the return's name by sending a charter plane. This is just me saying this, to Suriname, Haiti, parts of Brazil. Black America, financially, we good money. We good compared to some of these other places. But if I show you parts of Suriname with the Maroons, they are still phenotypically and culturally almost identical to some of these Africans, these Coromantee. So the Ashanti king went to Suriname. I'm preaching right now.
Yes.
Went to Suriname, and he can speak. They can converse with him in their language.
Yes.
In Akan, they do what they call seketi, and it's like they do the dances. They have their own way of rapping. They have everything. Well, my wife's from Curacao. They have the head wraps. It's called Maramento de Lenço. And every time they wrap it around their head, there's something that has to be said. So we maintain the cultures a lot of times more than they do. So I'm not going to let them get off with they didn't know. They did know. They don't care though, because life in Africa is worth nothing.
I'm not, again, so what I'm saying to you is we have to educate each other. I understand what you're saying, because yes, storytelling is cultural in terms of Alkebulanans on the continent. They were passed down, got that. But let's talk about the people of today and now. Yes. Do you really think that the people who are living in small villages in northern Ghana have been told stories about you and I? Let's just be honest. Nope. Simple yes or no. Okay. Nope. So I cannot hold them, again, I can't hold them accountable for ignorance. And I get what you're saying. People want to line their pockets. Since the beginning of time, as long as you've had two people on planet Earth, someone was more greedy. Vis-a-vis, you got two apples now, I want one of your apples. Yep. Because you got two. You sharing? No, I want my two for me. You're greedy. It's the same. That's the same thing, even though it's minuscule, but the totality and the methodology is the same. I don't want us in the diaspora to define ourselves off of 400 years of chattel slavery, when in fact our lineage is 300,000 years old. Why do we pick a subset of time to have this dialogue that you and I are having, when I'm saying that our lineage is far vast and greater than that, long before Cleopatra even came about, long before Nefertiti, Hatshepsut, all of that. Why do we pick and harp on that for us to forge the relationships with Alkebulan? I just don't feel that that is productive, because we have to educate each other. They have gone through atrocities that we have not read about. You know this, based on simple, what you said too, storytelling. So somebody got a story that we just never heard about it because they never printed it in a book. You know, when I lived in Malawi, they used to talk about this. It's a cultural thing, the Guli One Kulu. It's basically a rites of passage for boys to become a man. This ain't no book, none. I got this from an elder. And of course, where I was, I saw them one night and I was freaked out. Like, what in the world? Because I'm not accustomed to that. But as I was enlightened, okay, I'm cool. I just never seen anything like that in my life. So we should not, you said something a few minutes earlier, talking about how we have the best talent pool, basically. And you are right. You are right. That talent pool can forge new relationships with the continent. But I see your hostility because you want something tangible. I don't know.
All right, so let me simplify it for you. No, I could get it. I get you. And here we are on both sides of the fence, right?
Yes.
But let me explain something. I don't fault the layman in Ghana. I really don't. I don't fault the lay African. Okay? While these are my long lost cousins, we still family. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't like to see what's happening to them at the hands of their government. I don't like to see it. I don't like to hear 1.9 billion, but then Accra still looking crazy. I don't like it because I say, yo, why are these governments doing that? And the government leaders look just like them. They are them. I don't like that. You see what I'm saying? I'm not a talker. I'm a doer. So when I went to Accra, I got busy with the fighters. That's me giving back. And I'm still supporting them. So it's not like I'm banging on Ghanaians specifically. My issue hasn't been really Africans on the continent. It's been disrespectful Africans in the diaspora. These brand new Africans that come to the diaspora and don't get down with the get down. They don't stand on the front line. You know, they talk down on us, some of them. Like I said, there's no tangibles of them. You know, Nigeria got all these doctors, right? When the hell has a Nigerian doctor went to the hood and said, hey, LaQuisha, Pookie, Ray Ray, and everybody else, let me put you on game. Let me show you about this. Let me put you through some sort of training. They don't do it. But we steady doing stuff in Africa. And what happens is that we end up enabling these governments and giving them, you know, a pass for not taking care of their people because we are filling voids. The Chinese are filling voids. And then the government that's in power is just like this. In London, there's a place called called Little Nigeria. All these leaders, they get medical treatment in Europe. They have houses in Europe. You know, they do medical tourism just to get out of their countries while their people are starving. So do I need to go there and become competition in an already tight economy? No, I say I am not going to move to Africa and invest in Africa and pay these exorbitant fees to the GIPC to start a business there when that trickle down does not exist in Africa. So what I would be doing is lining the pockets of corrupt politicians who've got their hands, their feet on the neck of the local people that I happen to love. And when you love somebody, sometimes you got to give them that tough love and say, yo, y'all need to step up. Y'all need to get down with the get down. The SARS thing, well, they wilding out now. They need to think, and I don't like that organization, but they need to thank Black Americans who's been on the front lines rising up since before Rodney King. We've been the ones who stand in the face of adversity, stand in the face of these devils and have stood up. But when the devil looks like you, that's even worse. So when SARS, you know, is popping at people, killing people that look like them in the crowd, and then Pan-Africans are telling me, go back. Wouldn't you want to be with people that look like you? Well, the people that look like me and them are shooting them with reckless abandon. Now, you heard of SARS, but did you hear of SACS? Now, this is a real question. Have you heard of SACS? S-A-C-S.
No, I don't. I'm thinking of the, I don't think it's the same. I don't think it's the same.
Okay, so SACS is Special Anti-Cultism Squad.
Okay, yeah, I'm not familiar.
They have a squad that's not for robbery, but they have a squad that deals with cultists, people that will kidnap babies, cut off women's genitalia, men's genitalia, robbery squads, kidnapping squads, until Africa does right by their own people and cleans up their mess. I'm boycotting it because you don't invite over company if your living room looks like crap. Do some housekeeping first, and then I'll come, and then I'll visit. But I'm not leaving my people here in the diaspora to face these race soldiers alone. 50 Deep, which I represent every day, all day. I actually started this. is a group of strong black men, mentally and physically, who stand on the front line for our people here. And the reason why I made it, and I live in Holland right now, is because there was only the black woman on the front line speaking up against Dutch racism. And when a society sees that the man is absent, then they start taking a little more liberty with your woman, snatching out flyers out of their hands, pressing them. So I said, nah, as long as I have a breath in my body, it ain't going to happen on my watch. So this is why I moved from a place of power. Once we started standing on the front lines and got busy physically a couple of times, and they heard who was down with the get down, then they stopped coming around so much. Okay? They said that they were going to come to the Belmer. That's the black part of Amsterdam.
Okay.
So I was contacted to provide security and to essentially get the heavy hitters on the front lines. So I did it. And you know what? We were out there all black, no photo op. We was ready to get busy. It was my crew, other crews, a crew out here that's fashioned after the Black Panthers. And also we had the Amsterdam Crips out there too. The Pookies and the Ray Rays, so to speak. And you know what happened?
Right.
A couple of them drove past and they kept going. They didn't even get out their cars. So that's how I move. And I'm not going to leave my people vulnerable to these race soldiers to go to Africa, where I can't even, where I'm being told, hey, don't come over here thinking you can save us. And I say, you know what? You're right. Because the African Revolution has to have an African face on it. They understand the ins and outs. They know the deal between NDP and the other party in Ghana. They know their politicians. They know the tribalistic aspect of their politics that I don't understand. And I have to sit back and let the African fix the African problem. And once they get the ball rolling and we fix ourselves on our side, once we are both strong, then we can come together and then take this shit over.
Okay, just on the last part and then I'll proceed on. So is that going to be in your current lifetime? Give us your hypothetical here.
I normally don't do hypotheticals, but I'm gonna do one for you, sis.
Okay.
I'm setting with a lot of brothers who are military minded, not militant necessarily, military minded, action minded.
Okay.
I am the example for future generations to get with the get down. So whether it happens in my life, I don't know, but I have to fix my house here first. So my daughter, on code. My son, on code. We stand on the front lines from a military aspect 2 months out of the year when they have this Dutch blackface thing. But the other 10 months, what are we doing? Community give back programs, tuition reimbursement programs, okay? Training in martial arts, how to be a man, how to tie a tie, how to walk, how to shake a man's hand, how to look a man in the eye. These are the things that my group does for the most part. So if this can be viral and not just what's the latest black effery that's going on in the Gambia or going on in Ghana, all this other nonsense, then we can start making a change. And if it happens in my lifetime, it's cool. But if it don't, that's cool as well, as long as that I can die and leave this planet knowing that I was part of something. And I know, look, many freedom fighters, many Pan-Africanists have died without realizing their dream. But what a wonderful way to leave this planet. What a wonderful way to leave this planet. But by doing for your people. That's what I'm about. I'm a doer and I'm not a talker.
I understand that. And Dr. Anthony Browder always has a statement that goes something like this, that there is no more important time in history than the present. Because what we're doing now, people are going to do what? They're going to be talking about it. Change and developments, etc., will be made from this day that you're currently living in. I believe that. Do we hold the power to that? We should. However, we do allow propaganda and other things to infiltrate our minds and get us off our square.
Mm-hmm.
I say that to say this. Again, I have to repeat this because this is a note for me, is that I feel like you're only taking 400 years, knock, of 300,000. You haven't said to me anything about all the dynasties that came out of ancient Kemet or any of that prior to the slave trade. You're only focusing on this right here. And even though I get what you're saying, how you would rather live with the racism or whatever ills plague us in the diaspora or where you are than to come on the continent, I just feel like, sure, I don't want to leave everyone behind, but I recognize that everybody is not meant to go. We don't want people bringing about negative change. Hence, even when you talked about the Gambia and all that mess over there.
Yeah.
This, as I said to you when we started, this is not for everyone. It's not. It's not. People are comfortable where they are. Stay there. I have no problem with that. But I'm just saying, expand your base in that. You're not keeping to 400 years when your history as a Black man, as a melanated man, is 300,000 years old.
I get it, and I live in the now because I'm trying to change the now. I've done the whole, I actually have, it's called the African timeline that was created by a
Browder and Obina.
Obina.
Yeah.
Obina. I believe he's biracial. Isn't he biracial?
I'm not aware.
I think he's
from London. I'm not aware.
Yeah, he's from London. So
okay,
he came to Rotterdam. He went to Amsterdam, and there was a thing about his timeline. It took him a long time to look at it. And the problem with that timeline is too Egypt-centric. It's too Egypt-centric. There wasn't really much in the timeline, or there wasn't enough for my liking about Black Africa. Now we're going to get into it, okay? We're going to have to do a little geography. When everyone talks about ancient Kemet and these dynasties, which dynasty are you talking about?
There's numerous ones.
Well, which is the Black dynasty?
What I'm saying to you is, even though, okay, yes, you bring up a valid point.
Could you answer my question? Could you answer my question, sister? Which was the Black dynasty?
I believe it's the 25th.
You're absolutely right, and I just wrote it down here. The 25th dynasty.
Yes.
The 25th dynasty were characterized as invaders. So because the 24th wasn't a Black dynasty. There's certain dynasties that weren't Black. So if you look at this, right, but the Pan-Africanists and the Hotep always want to talk about the 25th, the 25th, the 25th. They don't talk about the 24th, the 23rd, the 22nd, or none of that. Hold on, sis. So now we go to this buffer zone, right, in East Africa under Egypt, which was Sudan, basically, right? Yes. If you look at the Mediterranean and you look at North Africa from Egypt all the way to Morocco, then you look at that Mediterranean Sea and you look at what is right above there. You have Turkey, Cyprus. If you take an Egyptian and you put them in Cyprus, you can't tell the difference. You could take a Dominican and put him in Cyprus. You won't tell the difference. These are different people. These are different people. These are not our people. They're not our people. We romanticize a dynasty that has nothing to do with us. So let's talk about the Black part of Sudan. The Nilotics. We are not Nilotic either. If you stand next to a Nilotic, they'll know from a distance that you are not Nilotic.
Yes.
From Northern Sudan with the Janjaweed, these Arabized Africans who love Africa, who love Arabs more than they love Africans, who call Africans slaves, Abid, which is the plural of Al-Abd. And Al-Abd, servant of Allah. Abd just means servant. They call Black people Abid, Al-Abd. These are dark-skinned people with the curly hair, and if you look at their phenotype, okay, they look closer to Horners than we do. Okay, we have a phenotype that's closer to the Bantu. And if you look at East Africa, there was the Bantu slave trade. If you look at Tanzania, wherever Zanzibar is. Where's Zanzibar, sister?
It's an island off the shores of Tanzania.
Okay, so it's Tanzania. Woo, I thought I was slipping for a second. And you talk about Tipu Tip, the Arabized African who was loyal to his Arab father and running slave raids to catch and sell Bantu Africans in the Indian Ocean slave trade. These are all Africans.
They are.
North Africa, but they're different people. So we talk about Egypt and the fact that the northern Egyptian looks just like a Cypriot. I say, look, if Egypt was all black, how come it ain't black now? Because it was never all black. There were times where black dynasties took over in Egypt, that they came from that buffer zone or that miscegenation zone, if you will, okay? And they were going back and forth. But these people have nothing to do with us. So let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Mansa Musa. Let's talk about that. That's on the West, right? Okay. But guess what? Everybody want to talk about Mansa Musa, but they don't want to talk about the 16,000 black slaves that he was taking up to them Arabs in exchange for the Arab information. Okay?
Who doesn't want to talk about that?
The Pan-Africanists, they don't never want to talk about the fact that Africans been enslaving and selling their other Africans. I'm not going to call them the same people because they were from different tribes, okay, for the longest. And because that has happened, that is the antithesis to Pan-Africans saying, well, we are all one. We are not one. We have never been one. And if we don't get on code, we will never become one.
They say it. Wait, I'm sorry. I had to laugh. My girl Sherry Brumbury says Nagmeezy is straight up ADOS, FBA, or whatever the movement in America is calling itself now.
Well, I know I'm familiar with Sherry Brumbury. I've seen her in. I know that name in these YouTube streets.
Yeah.
But
yes.
Check this out. I am a Black American. That is my lineage. Okay, that is my lineage. But as far as that anti-African rhetoric that comes out of some of these circles, I ain't with that. I had an argument, or not an argument, but a falling out with a brother that I was collaborating with because they were pushing this, that Africans and people from the Caribbean are threats. Off the rip, they're threats. And I said, how can you call them threats if you never did a threat assessment? You understand what I'm saying? So,
yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was the first time I heard it too. And that was the point where I said, whoop, I'm out of here. So I'm nuanced. And a lot of people take nuance for, what do you call it? Contradiction. No, I love Black people worldwide. And I'm the only Black American, I think, in Holland, or the only Black American on the front lines here in Holland. My crew is made up of people from Suriname, Curacao, Aruba, Cape Verde. They don't share my lineage, but they share this. All skinfolk ain't kinfolk, but I rock with Black people worldwide. So here's my list of priorities. I do prioritize. My priorities are Black Americans, 100%. And then comes the rest of people who were shipped out of Africa on those slave ships. Caribbean, South American, Central American, okay? And then on my long lost cousins from Africa, okay? Because we have the largest gap to be filled in between us. And there's a huge cultural gap and a whole bunch of stuff. But I'll tell you this, if I was in Russia and I saw a bunch of Russians, Chinese, and then an African, I wouldn't care if he was from Malawi, Namibia, Ghana, whatever. That's who I'm rocking with. You understand what I'm saying? So
I got you.
People say I sound like someone said, yeah, Nagmeezy's a recovering Pan-Africanist who still got crumbs of fufu crumbs on his mouth and shit, right? They call me that. Yo, I'm like this. You could call me that. You know, if Pan-Africanism, if Africans and the diaspora, so to speak, would get on code and really realize Pan-Africanism, it would be awesome. But I don't think that that would happen ever in life, because Africans are a tribal people. The diaspora is a nationalistic people. So you have Jamaicans versus Haitians versus this versus that. So it's going to be very hard for us to come together as one in terms of unity. But if we come on code, that means, you know, taking over your natural resources, gaining political power, gaining military, medicinal, economic freedom from these colonial powers, and then we build these ourselves up individually. Then I think we're in a better position to come together.
I'm not saying that that's not true, but I don't, again, as I said to you, I don't necessarily put titles on things like that, because even some of the educated Alkebulanans that have never left, but they're educated on the continent, they may not necessarily use that terminology, but do want to forge relationships with Blacks in the diaspora. So I tend to, unless I'm calling somebody out, like a Kuma Sutra, that kind of name, you know who I'm talking about anyway. That's the kind of title I put on you. Right. Say, okay, this is Pan-Africanism, this is this. I am a Black woman. I am for the people that look like me. Now, I recognize there's ills on both sides. I do. I get all of that. But for me, personally, I just cannot be locked in over here with the West anymore. That is not the future or the present. The present is Mother Alkebulan. She's always been the present, hence why these people want to come and pilferage her land. And then, it is what it is. But I feel I'm going to do my part. I want to be the change that I want to see. And I know people say that all the time, but I'm serious about this. It's like you're serious about, 50 deep. I'm serious about being the change I want to see. Change starts with yourself.
Absolutely.
And then you let it expand outwardly to others. So that's what I want. That's what I want to do. And then
so what's your plan? What's your plan?
Tide change while I'm on Earth. It is what it is.
So what's your plan?
I'm gonna do my part, but go ahead.
What's your plan?
So my ultimate plan is
your current plan. Your current plan.
Well, it's in the works already. The plan is already in the works, but the umbrella is that I am going to do vocational training for persons who are special needs. That's my background. I taught the deaf for 10 years. I haven't taught that in a while. However, I still have that in me. So I'm making a situation as we speak. It is in infancy stage to work with persons who are special needs to get a skill, because they have to feel a certain way about being contributors to their own society, not being locked away as if they are a specimen for being reclusive.
So now my follow-up to that is, are you going to do that for the Black Americans that need that in America, or are you going to take that to Africa?
I'm taking that to Alkebulan. They already have that in America.
Okay.
I worked on a program like that.
Okay, so good. And I applaud you and I wish you success. And not only wish you, I know you will be successful. You understand what I'm saying? I am not an enemy to Pan-Africanists. I just think that it's an ideology that is shot dead in the water due to tribalism, nationalism, different religions, and things of that nature. But I love and commend people that are doing stuff for Black people worldwide. So I commend you. So what we have here is me with a warrior mindset, and I'm not gonna run and leave my people. Period. So if I decide to leave and go to Africa, it'll be on my terms. And what are my terms? I'm holding the governments of these African countries accountable to do right by their people before they invite us back. Stop, inviting people to a place where you don't take care of your own people. A lot of us are running from American racism, American police brutality, and they're running into even police with heavier hands than American cops. And that is a travesty, when a person will look at you and still pop you in your chest for not even doing anything. When people will, if you have dreadlocks in some of these West African countries, you are a target. You know, in Ghana and many other places, police stop you and then they ask for a dash, some money, right? So now I want you to think about this. If it's that open that these police are not forced, but they have been brought up into a culture of begging, stealing, robbing, and being corrupt against their own citizens, why the hell would I go there and basically, you know, turn a blind eye and foster that by my presence? You're gonna have to do right by your people. Now, here's a flip side of, you know, them taking money to close the gap of their salaries, because I have their salaries written down here. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll freestyle it. A beginning cop makes about $226 a month. The top of the top, like the chief or something like that, makes about $800 a month. So when you have people walking around with AK-47s and they're getting paid peanuts, you know what you have? You have a situation where the people that are getting their money through crime can pay a cop off and bribe him to walk away from murder charges, for him to extort people, for him to put cops in their pocket, because that happens in America.
Oh, exactly. That's exactly, you know, that's where I was going. You got
cops making it happens in
home doing the same thing.
See, exactly. But now, no, hold on. You know, a lot of people, they say, well, that happens in America. We're not talking about America right now. We're talking about Africa. Africa is on the menu right now, and they're inviting my people back. Don't invite my people back. Like you said, if I have to choose between the devil and the devil, I choose me. If I got to choose between American police brutality and African police brutality, let me just choose neither one of them. I don't choose it.
But that is because you see Alkebulan as the devil. See, I don't see that.
No. Since when? I look at corrupt police.
You just said. You said I asked you to. Okay, maybe I was speculating. I'm sorry.
No. Let me clarify, my sister.
Okay.
I'm talking about the devil and the devil. It was an analogy that you made between like Trump and Biden. I'm using that analogy in terms of yes, I just described the NYPD. In terms of NYPD, anti-black racism, versus the Ghana Police Department and SARS, anti-African racism when they're also African. That to me is worse than dealing with a race soldier who already know the deal. I'm gonna give you a quick story. I used to be a loss prevention manager. At this time, I was a loss prevention manager. Then I became a regional. And I was in a store in Lower Manhattan, one of my stores in my region. And we weren't prosecuting this kid for shoplifting. We were gonna let him go. He tried to steal True Religion jeans. Young black kid. And you know what I did? I always, because I would make the decision to whether we would prosecute or not. Mm-hmm. So you know a lot of black kids was getting off, right? But this kid was young. So when they're young, you have to send them with the police, okay? Because you can't just turn him loose on his own. So this racist cop came and was taunting this young black man. Said something, and then a cop, the young black man, he was like 13. He said something smart to the kid, and the guy says, you know what? You think I won't do something to you? Because his friend said, yo, be quiet before they beat you up. The young brother said, he ain't touching me. The cop said, you think I ain't gonna touch you? Stand up. In my office. The kid stands up. The cop rushes up, boom, puts him down in a chair, starts beating the shit out of him. Okay? What I did is I backed up, I turned my camera right on top of him, and I told him, I said, stop moving, just chill out. This young man he was about it. He threw that cop all over the office, messed up my computer and everything. So I was giving him game on why he shouldn't be stealing jeans. So I told him, I said, yo, after the cop walked to the front of the office, he saw everything that he did was recorded. You know what the cop did? He says, I need a bus here. My back hurts. You tried to play that. Mm-hmm. So when he was doing that, I went to the young black man. I said, we were talking about how you're going to get some money, right? I said, this is it. I said, you feel injured, right? He was like, nah, I'm good. I said, no, 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 no. You need to go to the hospital, young man. He said, yeah. And then I gave him the number to my lawyer and it got paid off. So I understand police brutality because I've dealt with it. It's been in front of me. But I expect them to do that. I want these governments of Africa to train their people and pay them so that they're not in a position that they feel necessary to be begging people for dashes all over West Africa.
Okay. We're at the hour and 40-minute mark. I normally do about an hour, but this was engaging and I enjoyed our fellowship here. I want to let you have the last word and then I will come with my last word.
Well, sister, thank you for inviting me. I know when I start rolling, it's hard for me to stop because I'm passionate about Black people. You know, I'm very passionate about Black people. And just because I rep my lineage doesn't mean that I have shade towards anybody else. If you are Black and you are for us, whether you are Pan-African, whether you are Black Muslim, whether you love white Jesus, whether you're an Israelite, if you're standing on the front line, you are my ally. I don't say that we are the same because I understand and I embrace our differences. Salute to you, Troy Joseph. I embrace our differences. I don't live in a fantasy that we're all the same. We are not. But we do have the same goal, which should be Black liberation.
I totally agree with Black liberation. Our people have been suffering for quite some time. And again, my contention as to why I want to live my final days on planet Earth there is to be the change I want to see. Change starts inward and works her way outward. I love Black people. We some beautiful, fine folks, okay? I love us for real. So I want to be that model for somebody to say, hey, wow, she did this. I can do this too. I can perfect it. I can do it better without being incendiary and all of these things, understanding that we are not a monolith, we being the Blacks in the diaspora. So I want to thank Naka for coming today. I really enjoyed this conversation. Again,
can I plug my channel?
Of course. Yes. Go ahead.
All right. So if you want the real from a brother who was raised in this, okay, my grandfather was a Garveyite, okay. I went to school. My first school was the Sister Clara Muhammad School in Corona, Queens. So I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I'm not a Pan-African, but I love Black people. So if you want to hear more of what I got, tune into my channel. If you like it, subscribe. If you don't. But contribute. If you dislike it, tell me why, and we could chop it up in the comments. I'm going live tonight at 10 o'clock, and we're going to be talking about Ghana, and I'm going to bring that heat. And I'll tell you this about me: if you come at me sideways, I'm coming for your neck. But it doesn't mean that that's for everybody. Okay, so thank you for listening to me. I appreciate y'all. Sherry Bumbury, I see you in these YouTube streets, and I appreciate you too. Peace and Black power.
Everyone out there, we can have an engaging dialogue with different ideologies without bashing one another. So understand that, because you can learn something from what he's saying and vice versa. It's not in, we have to go totally here and totally there. We can each accept some form of education from one another. We're talking about a exchange of ideas. Remember, I said everything is reciprocal. Reciprocal. Take out the good, throw away the trash. That's all I got to say. So thank you so much for not coming, and everyone go to his channel tonight because I'm going to be there. It's going to be 1 o'clock in the morning, but I'm going to be there. So everyone, I'm taking us out. Have a good night.